have our traditional structural gear as well for here. We have a outer shell that helps us protect us from any fire or any type of material that could cut us during an emergency response, along with our internal barriers here that helps us protect us from steam and water barriers, because when we are fighting fire on the inside, the water will expand and we could become steam burned. So that's why we have multiple layers in our equipment. We have our traditional firefighting helmet as well, with eye protection that will fold down, and it's a hardened fiberglass outer case with a ratchet harness system in the back. Our hoods that go over our face piece and protects our hair and ears as well, because those will be exposed if the hood's not on correctly. We have our structural gloves here that protect us from any thermal burns and cuts and abrasions, and our traditional boots and pants, also with the same type of material from our coat. Bunker pants typically run a little bit on the bigger side, because when we are in a fire, we have to crawl around. The extra length adds a little bit more protection to our ankles. That's why our boots come up so high. It's about a 3/4 boot, so they come up higher to protect us from any type of steam burns or anything like that. Moving over to our SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus. It's an open circuit, which means that we take air in from the cylinder, and when we breathe out, it expels out through vents, so we're not breathing in the same air. It doesn't get filtered. We have our face piece with a regulator that would come in. Once the bottle turns on, we get an audible ring. That's telling me that the system is now pressurized, and we have a couple different displays to make sure we know how much air is actually in our bottles. We have a pressure gauge in the back. These are all 1 hour bottles at 4,500 PSIs. Once we would go on air in an ideal age situation, we would plug in, quick snap, take a big deep breath in, which releases the valve, and we can start breathing. This alarm right here that you're hearing is our pass device. So that audible alarm goes off if there's a down firefighter. It goes off about every 30 seconds if the pack's not sensing motion. This screen right here is our motion sensor. So this is why we do a lot of shaking on the fire ground to make sure that this alarm doesn't go off, because when it does go off, it raises questions if there's a down firefighter and where they could possibly be. There's also the screens here will light up, and it gives us a number reading for our pressure gauge in our bottle, so we can keep an eye on that when we're on an interior attack. So with J-Fire, we have the adapter piece to our mask that allows us to do firefighting in a chemical environment. We put this filter right in, it'll screw in. And what this allows us to do, if we're not hooked up to our SCBA, we'll be taking in atmospheric air through here. It gets filtered and we can breathe, it comes right back into our mask. When we are in a chemical environment or anything like that, we can also use the SCBA. Pressurizing the system, it shuts off this valve until we unplug and we go back off atmospheric pressure. So this is all the gear that we would be wearing when we show up to a fire scene. We have to put all this gear on and be able to breathe air within 2 minutes from once we get on scene. Most people will get their structural gear, coat, pants on, and then it's a quick pull the pack out, be on air within about a minute of being on scene if we need to go in. On top of all the gear that we just went over, every firefighter has some type of tools or equipment they like to bring, depending on the type of call that we're responding to. Go over some of the basic tools right here. Most of the time, your fire officer of the truck will have what this thermal imaging camera, also known as a TIC. What this allows us to do is see any type of heat signatures. So if I shine this into a wall or an object, I will get a heat reading off of it. And depending on what the heat reading is showing off of it, it depends on whether we may have fire or some type of combustion going on inside that wall. Probably one of the most utilized tools, what we call, is a set of irons. It's a Halligan and a axe tied together. We call these a set of irons. This is a great tool to make purchase points into doors, walls, or anything like that. It's got prying capabilities, a puncture point, and cutting if we need to. In the fire service, all our axes are dull, so we don't get the blade stuck into a wall or anything like that. It's more of the weight that we use in the actual cutting motion. Another important tool that we carry on us is a water can. If we're doing some type of investigation, we'll carry usually a water can with us. It's 2.5 gallons of water in here. and it can be utilized for a quick knockdown if it's a small fire. I'm the Air Force firefighter, and this is some of the equipment I would carry on an incident.